Hi there, Paula Connor here. Today is Monday, the 27th of April, and I have a video I want to share with you that was recorded yesterday. We had our very first roundtable discussion, and I was joined with a real powerhouse of incredible spiritual teachers, a real divine feminine gathering. I was joined by Magenta Pixie, Laura Eisenhower, Christianne Van Wilk, Nina Starsong, and Tara Perry, as well as myself. And we discuss a lot of topics about what is happening on the planet right now, the shift in consciousness. We talk about multidimensionality, the current scenario that's happening, the control structure, and many, many other topics that I'm hoping will help you potentially answer some questions that you might have had, or maybe even help you reconcile some of the things that you're witnessing in our world. So please do check in, have a look, and we'll talk with you in a bit. Cheers.
Right. We all rise together.
Thank God we have each other. I'm just hitting a lot of walls lately, just totally overworked. Nervous system is just like, so I'm doing my best, but I start my morning off with all sorts of...
What is that? Is that wild blueberry powder?
It's got lots of different fruit in it. It's got all sorts of herbs and powders and protein. It's just, everything I could possibly think of.
Have you got the raw chocolate in it there, Laura?
What'd you say?
Have you got the raw chocolate powder in there?
I don't have the chocolate powder, but I just ordered some cacao with all sorts of cool mushrooms and just really trying to stay nutrified and disciplined.
Ashwagandha. I did ashwagandha when my nerves were fried out, and I had ashwagandha in my smoothies, and it completely sorted me out. And of course, breathing.
Yes, I do have ashwagandha, but I'm going to make sure to put more of it in. Yes. And breathing.
Actually, I think you guys all know that I teach the HeartMath program, right, on how to connect in with the heart, and the autonomic nervous system is connected, hardwired to the heart and the brain. So when you can slow your breath down, get yourself into coherence, which is when your mind, your thoughts, your emotions, and your heart are all synchronized, you can really settle the autonomic nervous system down, and you get into coherence. And as you guys know, when we're in coherence, we can connect directly to the higher realms and be in equation at that level. I think Nina's having a hard time joining, Laura.
Yeah, maybe we should just go for it. Or are we kind of...
something on the channeling part there that you were just saying about Paula? Because what I find as well, because we're all really open and really sensitive, it's really important we keep our bodies really healthy and happy and soft and passive, really passive and open, because we're channeling large amounts of energy, right? And almost the more we open to receive, the more we get. And it's like we have to get our heads out of the way and kind of just let it happen, because otherwise the nervous system, it's like the fuses start blowing, don't they, in our systems, because we maybe don't understand, like when we break it down and analyze it logically or whatever, that we don't understand maybe what the whole thing means, and then we can get stressed out trying to figure it out and trying to catch up with all the detail and feel that urgency of sharing. But it's like just being the channel, I think we do so much more than we realize, just being the conduit to allow that energy down and through into the body and connecting on the earthly level. And that's actually enough in a lot of ways. That's a huge amount. And just be passive and soft to let that happen. That's my experience.
I think that's very much what I would call the crystal way. The passivity, standing as the crystal, drawing down the energy, bringing down that channeling and holding space for that. The indigo energy is different. It's more action. Like me and Laura are more indigo, but we complement each other. The divine feminine's really made up of the indigo and crystal energy, complementing each other.
No, I completely relate to the indigo action. It's just being like, I'm go, like Chrissy knows me, I'm always creating and doing, but then it's like just balancing it out, because we're not, we have to be self-sustainable. You can't just go at it constantly, because you will burn out. So it's just about balancing and just listening to our bodies. And
I cancel stuff when I have to, and people are pretty understanding. Because I got my kids that just moved home, we got a house guest coming, and I'm just like, But anyway, But
Yeah.
yes, thank you for those reminders and just, yeah, dancing with it, flowing with it. We were talking about that a little bit yesterday.
Yes.
Just
Did you like the
circulation.
title? Did you like the title I came up with?
I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
I was
You
really
guys had a chat yesterday? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
So, you know, I was kind of, here it is, 11:11. That's so perfect Eastern time. I wish. I was hoping that, as I say, since we were together, that we could, as a collective, what I wanted to do at the end was some forgiveness work at the really high, dark level. Maybe we can do that towards the end, see if we can clear some of the muck. And that's a really great segue into kind of what I want to just talk about, like, what are we noticing individually in our own lives, in the internal world over the last week? Because that might provide some good clarity and guidance for anybody that's listening. So one of the things, if I may start, one of the things that came up for me, and this is as a result of the videos that you released last weekend, Magenta. Definitely family, kind of like, you are crazy. We don't want to, you know, you're a little bit different. We don't want to talk to you. The other thing was trust. A huge thing was trust. And like I shared at the beginning, right, that song came on, Only God Knows Why, when I was like, okay, what do we talk about? So it was trust. I wasn't trusting. I was having a little bit of doubt. And it really surprised me that, Magenta, you had shared that happens on occasion. And with my other guides too, they have, or teachers rather, they have moments of that too. But then I got a rush of a confirmation. So what happened was, and I shared this to you, Magenta, in a message, I was made aware of another one of the plans, or one of the other dark actions. So that awareness came into me. And what happened was, I experienced two emotions, which was a bit trippy, because I was like, oh my God, this is disgusting. But at the same time, it was like, oh my God, that's awesome. It can be released now, which was really weird. Nina's coming in again. So then I tapped into it, and specifically with the elixir that they view as a power source or what have you. I tapped into that. I was led to tap into that. And I was able to feel all the way to the bottom of what was underneath it. And it was absolute desperation and like longing, like a prayer, like, please, like there was so much desperation for the light, for the love. And I really felt this incredible layer of compassion, which was interesting because I'd not experienced that before. And what my team has been teaching me is that what you damns you back. So that when you condemn another and say that person is not of the light, you put them in darkness and you tether yourself to them. So what you damns you back. And what you place in darkness, you are there too. You put everybody else there because there's nothing outside of the light. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. I wanted to share that. That was new for me, that I was able to sort of feel at that level of compassion, because that is exactly what we need to help people right now, is forgive what they're seeing, because we can see the global unrest happening in every town, in every country, all over the world, right? It's like it's the beginning of a major global protest.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that was something that I had noticed. And the only other thing that I could share was, there was a hypnotherapy session. I think Alison Coy, I don't know if you guys have heard about her, but she kind of like, she shares what comes up with clients over a period of time. Nina's really having a hard time coming in and out here. And they talked about a blackened sky, that when we see this, when we're about to shift in octaves from this reality to the next one, they talked about paranormal. It seemed it was consistent that there would be paranormal, out of the normal activities happening. And one of them was a blackened sky. And I only remembered last week that a couple of years ago, I had a dream where I woke up, or rather I was a lucid dream, stepped outside of a bungalow. To the right, there was the garage. And there was this really, really black, smoke, dark sky. And I was like, am I supposed to be frightened? Because this is familiar. So I've actually seen that in a dream. And then there was a Taurus, purple and pink Taurus tube energy that was moving sort of like in like this, and then this incredible emerald green light in behind it. So wanted to share that it feels like we've already, even though it might have something happened like 3-4 years ago, we're gonna know like when it's on, and it feels like I said, batters up, get ready. Anyway, that's my little share.
Thank you. It's
Anybody
awesome.
else want to share what they've noticed within themselves the last week that might help the collective?
Well, I guess I could jump in. I feel so used to being on this mission that Magenta brought up in our discussion, just the code that we're born with, that is here to assist humanity and also to participate in the human experience and, find just a relationship between the greater part of ourselves that really knows what we're here to do and understands the larger picture and doesn't really fear it. And it's like so well equipped to just like stand up and, when these events take place on Earth, we just know like, okay, call to action even more so than before. But then that human part of it that can so identify with the struggles that people are having, and just the importance of connecting those two, places and really speak on a level that people know, like, we're going through it too. We have our tools, perhaps. We've been working with different modalities to make it a little bit easier. But I mean, it's not just like coming in the messenger and not having it kick our butt sometimes. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm just really honoring what I need to do to stay anchored and integrated. And we were talking about that before we, hit record. Just, getting the rest we need, having to listen to the body, because this is how we bust the mind control, because the mind control makes it very difficult for us to be healthy, period, because we're not listening to our internal guidance. So in these times, we're being called to go through this huge growth period and transformation, but it requires a lot of, rest and processing. And I feel like the family is growing. I feel like connections are coming together that are much more real with each other, much more just on the level that we discussed already yesterday, but it's just the soul family feeling, the feeling of, wow, I feel really safe with these people. And you guys, I'm totally feeling it. That's why you're bringing it out of me. Just that safety factor of, family, soulmate connections, and being able to be really real with each other and be mutually supportive. And that facade model of, or competition is just gone, and just building relationships with, women too. I'm just thrilled. So that's what I'm noticing is I am so all about this right now. And I just feel like elation and happy tears before we even got on. That's why I look a little weird, but how important this is, and that we're doing it. We intuitively know what needs to be done, and we're making it happen. And everybody else has that internal guidance too. And I just pray that they just don't talk themselves out of it and say, I'm going to go for that. My inner voice is telling me this. That is the medicine for us to follow. So I'm grateful that I continue to do that. But I also know that I really got to take care of me and find the balance. And being a Libra, it's, I guess, my goal. But man, what about anybody else?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Nina. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you guys too. I apologize. We're having quite a storm and I couldn't get on for a while. So anyways, I'm happy to be here, and I just wanted to share a little bit. I very much relate as a star seed and as an indigo crystal child. So I've been working with a lot of that energy, and a lot of what's come up for me in the past 2 years in preparation for this time has been about sovereignty. And what I've been looking at really in my own life, and then my clients and the people that are our family of light that are here to bring this new way of being, is where are we not showing up sovereign in ourselves, but also in all of our relationships, in the way that we relate to the world. And really, that has helped me identify the mass amounts of programs that have been created to cause us to feel that we're not sovereign. And when you can observe those programs on yourself and in yourself, you can really begin to do that work, which is, okay, I'm not behaving sovereign. I'm believing that I'm attached to this, or that this has chains over me, or this controls me. And when you start to break that down, and yes, it is these draconian programs, but really it comes from this place of fearing these draconians. And so I've been really working a lot with the people in my life and the clients that I work with, and kind of the group that I speak to and communicate with, which is there's absolutely nothing to fear when you reach that place of knowing that you're sovereign. And when you know that you're sovereign, you know that there isn't anything else that has power or control over you. And it doesn't matter what program it is. It came from a place of fear. It came from this place of just trying to make you see that you're not part of this global universal law that all are a part of, in which all are sovereign. So that's been the big breakthrough, that I've been coming from this place of, okay, guys, you know, I know that this stuff is scary to see. I know that you don't want to know that there's sacrifice going on, and there's all this kind of these things that are really triggering a lot of people's inner children right now into fear, even amongst the spiritual light family community. Just be able to say to them that this is happening so that you can see that something in you is enslaved, or something in you is not sovereign yet. And if you shift into this remembrance that you came here as sovereign, all are sovereign, and you claim that in yourself, and you know, just say out loud, speak that out loud every day. I do not consent, and I have a will and a power to say so as a sovereign being. And it's been helping a lot of people a lot. So that's where I think I've been really focusing at this time, and the Pleiadians have been really discussing that with me. And remember how you used to function before you came here. Remember that you came here into a non-sovereign world to bring sovereignty. And you maybe fell asleep for a little while on some level, but you always knew, no, I came here for the time of awakening. And so that's this time. And I'm just very, very extremely grateful for this time right now, and for all of you ladies that I'm so inspired by. So thank you.
Anybody else? So who would like to go next?
I'm really, thank you for saying everything that I need to hear right now, because I'm noticing I'm not in my usual clarity this week. I'm really struggling to tap in, to tune in, to make that connection at the moment. And I know that, you know, when I started making my films 10 years ago, I was on such a strong mission, you know, it was all about consciousness expansion. I knew that consciousness expansion would, you know, change the frequency so that we would burst through the limiting boundaries of the matrix. And now when I look around me, I just see this incredible awakening happening everywhere. You know, people that I never would have expected, you know, are now waking up. And so on the one hand, I'm so excited about that. And on the other hand, I'm like, okay, so my job is done. What am I doing here still? Like, especially because where I'm living at the moment, there is a national telecom mast, but they also just illegally put up a huge telecom mast 50 meters behind the house, humongous. And I don't know if I'm making this up, but it really does feel like I'm getting highly affected by the radiation. And I can be talking, and mid-sentence, I'll be like, what am I talking about? Like, it's like I get blanked. And other, you know, like breathing issues I get sometimes, and like feeling like my skin feels really like burning, and I'm really, yeah, I'm getting affected by external things at the moment. And I saw a video this morning of the plan that Elon Musk has with the satellites, which form this grid around the planet, this entire grid. And I know people tell me, just focus on what you want, focus on, you know, surrendering into all the amazing golden age stuff that's going on. And I'd like to do that, but I'm really struggling with it, because at the moment I feel like I'm like a horse in a stable, and the stables are on fire and I can't get out, you know. It's like, I do not consent to being microwaved by your silly games, you know, like, so yeah, I just need to be honest, like, and I don't mean to put
so
a damper on the whole conversation.
Can we all do this together then for Chrissy? Can we all like just imagine the radiation that is around her and the structures that are around her? And I'm gonna say this to the devices. I know who you are in truth. I know what you are in truth. I know how to serve in truth. You are free. You are free. You are free. I lift those structures to the upper room. You have calm. You have calm. You have calm. Behold, I make all things new. And that is not me saying that as the small self. That's my higher self lifting what is around her to the higher upper room, the higher level of consciousness, so that it can be addressed by the light. And then Chrissy, I'm going to say, you can come and live with me in Canada. If you
Right. That sounds nice.
I think you nailed it there, Paula. It's that commanding, using that command from the I am absolute love, absolute light, I am the truth, and commanding everything to reveal its absolute truth. That's the law of the universe, and we know that, right? When you command something to reveal its truth, it must. And you use it 3 times and everything gets revealed. The first time you command it, it might show a little bit. You command it 3 times. I've used this again and again and again in the last 20 years. Any energy in this known universe, you command it to come into its truth, and it must, and it will. And you reveal what it is. And you know, that's what you were talking about, Nina, the sovereignty. It's like knowing your power. And even that phrase, you know, I do not consent. For me, that's not even a reality that I want to even speak to, that it could even be a potential that something could affect me that I don't want to consent to. It's just not a thing. It's like, it's that command, it's that sovereignty. It's like tweaking it that tiny little bit, and it just refines the connection, the vibration. And Paula, I really want to, first of all, everything that you're all saying is just filling me with so much love and emotion and gratitude to sit with you, because it's just so true and real what you're all saying, and it's so beautiful that we can come together and share this. But Paula, coming back to what you said about, you know, what do we want to call it, those desperate souls, the ones that have forgotten the love, that have forgotten who they are, and have gone into some place which is quite hard to retrieve a soul from, but yet it's not impossible. And it's, you know, in fact, it's actually not very difficult when we come from that place, like you said, of absolute compassion, because you're seeing the real truth, you're seeing the deeper truth, not what appears to be on the surface, which is frightening, right? Like you're saying, Chrissy, it does look frightening. It can make us react and have all these emotions, but it's like when we see through that and understand this is a human being whose soul is really trapped, really lost, and they're crying out for help. But also in that blueprint of the world, in our soul blueprints, this is all aligned now for this perfect time now. And each one has their blueprint trigger in the timeline that we're existing in for their own release, for their freedom, for their awakening. And I never ever doubt that. That is absolutely encoded into every being. And it's, you know, it's like a symphony. It's like when each note gets activated, it's creating a beautiful harmony. So in that sense, I don't feel an urgency, but I do feel like what we can do is drop into that feeling of absolute love and forgiveness for what we haven't understood, or forgiveness for what, you know, the pain and the suffering that has happened, and release that from our own psyche, because we've all suffered, you know, a degree of abuse, trauma, sexual abuse, sacrifice. We've all done that. maybe not just in this lifetime, but maybe many lifetimes over, and the memories are getting triggered in us. That's why we're reacting and responding. When we're seeing it externally, it's like, whoa, shit, this shit is coming up to the surface, hallelujah. But oh my goodness, because we're all getting triggered with our own memories. And so to be able to heal and love and forgive our own pain and memories of that, and then being able to connect with our other, you know, our other selves, our other fellow human beings, no matter what game they're being, what role they're playing, but to be able to love and forgive on the collective level. And I think that's super, super powerful. And it's something that actually Chrissy and I, we were talking about a few weeks ago, weren't we, when we did our conversation. And yeah, it's just amazing. So I love that you've spoken about that. This week,
they're lost in the darkness. And Chrissy, you know, you and I both have one thing in common. Well, ayahuasca. Laura, I'm not sure if anybody else here has participated in the ayahuasca plant medicine.
I have.
Oh, cool. So I feel like this is important to bring up right now. So a year ago, January, I was there for the second time. And in my 5th ceremony then, which was the 10th, I made all of those claims with every ceremony I went through. And in the 5th one, there was the vision that I was shown where there were so many beings of light with flashlights coming into like the depths of darkness and rescuing all these beings. And I could see them all being brought up, like if you can imagine a dark tube cave, and up above there was like the sunlight, the blue sky. They were all being rescued, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. Yeah, that was just a really cool visual that I was, I'm going to say, gifted with, because when I came out, you know, they asked, how was your ceremony? I'm like, it was godlike. I was so grateful, because it feels like we're like, it's a rescue mission, right? In a few ways. Anybody that's lost, like Hakuna Matata, nobody gets left behind. And the understanding of Christ consciousness, not being coming at this from a religious perspective at all, is that everything and everyone is forgiven. Yeah. It's all just like a big play, a big show. Look at you do, you know?
Yeah.
Has anybody been feeling their cellular cells and body feeling weird and light and like changing this week?
Oh, yes.
Like,
buzzy. I would say it's like it's buzzy.
Definitely.
Like kind of like somebody's just opened the roof and you're more out there, less grounded, so to speak, but you're still in your body, but it just feels weird, like lighter, like a little bit disconnected, a bit in and out, a bit like not, do you know what I mean? I just, yeah, I feel like really buzzy.
It's a bit. What about you, Magenta? Sorry, Tara. Sorry, I didn't. There was a delay. I'm not cutting you off.
I just wondered if anybody else had been feeling like that, like kind of disconcerting, a little bit in and out of the body.
The picture they give me is like all the cards are up in the air and it's frozen. You know, like there's a pause, right?
I love how you always describe things, Paula. It's so cool. You're so visual. I can totally see it.
Yeah, that's what it totally feels like. Every single card is up in the air and then it's a freeze frame. And it's like, wait, we're waiting for all the cards to drop.
Yeah.
So Magenta, what about you?
I agree with every word you've all said, and it is really lovely for all of us to come together and create this connection and power between us. So yeah, every single thing you've all said, I completely agree with. What I'd like to add to that, though, is obviously we are looking here at a multi-dimensional reality, and there are different truths and different actions and different ways of thinking within each dimension. So I wanted to come to Chrissy's comment, because everyone else is speaking within the higher dimensions, and absolutely we need to be there, because those higher dimensional energies need to fall down into the third dimension to create this wonderful new earth that we're creating. But what Chrissy is talking about is a third dimensional problem. And I have been in that same situation. Like Chrissy, I'm extremely sensitive to EMFs and to the towers and the masts and everything. And if one really has been set up by Chrissy's house and she's starting to feel those symptoms and those energies from that, I've been in that situation, and no amount of prayer and praying and sending love and forgiveness and all of that higher dimensional stuff, no amount of that assisted me when I was in the vicinity of that tower. No amount of orgonite or crystals or rituals, nothing worked. The only thing that worked for me was to remove myself from that vicinity, and I had to leave that place where I was living. There was nothing else that was working for me. I was simply just too sensitive. And it wasn't that I couldn't work with the higher dimensions. The synchronicity for me was being able to leave. So that is a concern. And I think we need to look at how we can help Chrissy on a third dimensional level to deal with this situation, because potentially this is something that's occurring across the planet. Now, I am assured that global wise, this won't work. That's where the higher dimensional connection comes in. This whole sort of higher than 4G situation that's being rolled out across our planet, I'm assured won't work on a global level. But that's not to say it's not going to come into effect in smaller pockets in certain areas. I'm not sure what kind of mast Chrissy is living near, but I think we need to look at how can she work with this situation in a third dimensional level in order that she is not put into a situation where she's fragmented and not able to get clarity of energy, because she's being affected by that.
And also, you know, with all the satellites, this grid, already when you look in the sky, you can see them coming past, thousands of them. So even if I was to remove myself, this is also like happening for others. You know, you can't actually go anywhere anymore. And I don't, like I said, I don't mean to put a damper on what we're talking about, but I'm trying to find a balance between being in my higher self and acting from that, but also dealing with what my consciousness is showing me and what I'm experiencing in the physical, like you said, Magenta. So, you know, what are we doing as a collective do we need to do something as a collective to deal with all these satellites, or are there forces at work already to deal with this?
I personally feel we need to come at this with every dimension. Now, we are workers in the higher dimensions. Some of us work in multiple dimensions. There are individuals who are awake but are just still third dimensional thinkers. They completely ignore or reject any kind of spiritual energy. These are the individuals who go out there and make peaceful protests and write things on social media. And I just think if the energy is flowing, it isn't all just going to be total love and light. We have to come down to, like you were saying, Nina, sovereignty. It is about making a declaration of sovereignty. There is an energetic where you do deny consent. And I can understand what Tara was saying, how denying consent makes you think, well, why is there something there to deny consent to? The point is, there is something there to deny consent to. Within the fourth and third dimension, not within the fifth dimension. It's not there. It's utterly pure. There is nothing to deny consent to. It doesn't exist in the new earth. It doesn't exist in the fifth dimension, but it does in the fourth and it does in the third. And we've got to work multidimensionally in order to deal with this situation we are in on this planet.
And it's the mind control we're breaking too, because if we look at the third and fourth, that is when we start to move out of our lower chakras and all the things that are confining us into spinning in those energy centers of survival, or questions of power or disempowerment, or the emotionality of it all, and the struggle that can come from not having the direct connect with the rest of it. And so as we move into that fifth, and it's the frequency that comes out of our voice, that counteracts the frequency of dark weaponry. And so if we're all mind controlled and we're speaking programmings to one another, that stuff is going to, you know, continue to cave in on us. But the more we speak, the more we share, the more we come together, that frequency that ripples out to the whole collective begins to, you know, shift the planet in the way that our health would shift if we're putting good things in our body and we're listening to what our body needs, and we're not handing it to somebody else to solve for us. That is the biggest crisis that's coming to a head is that somebody else tells us what drug should we take to cure something, what disease do we have, and what's the prognosis, and what our teachers and family members condition us to believe that this is just passed down generation to generation. And then we're afraid of not being loved in return if we begin to become that sovereign being, which we all are underneath it all. But, you know, the internal guidance is huge. And I'm just going to say this real quick. When people were forcing things on me, that certainty that I absolutely cannot do it took over every day. Every word I spoke, every action that I took unwound me from the grips of these forces that wanted me to do something else with my life, wanted to own me on some level. And we all have a piece of, you know, that sort of trickery of you have no choice. And so the more we amplify what our own internal guidance is telling us without fearing it, without too much self-doubt, or if we have the insecurity or self-doubt pop up, you know, we don't allow it to dominate and make choices for us. We're like, okay, that's nice. I recognize that wound's there, but it's not going to make the choices for me. So when people are being pushed to the corner by these darker forces, yes, I totally agree. It's like the more we come together, the more we face it, not with battling it, but transmuting it through a frequency that we're able to bring into the physical plane, because we make it a way of life and we inspire other people to join us by building the new earth. As we call out justice and we educate the masses, we have to begin to rise in what's available, because if we don't put our attention on that, then I just feel like, you know, the entanglement of it all is draining and wasting too much of our time. But it can't be ignored, it can't be denied, and we can't love light it away. Absolutely.
Yeah, I really agree with that. Before all of this happened, I was living in Paris, and Paris was definitely under a strong attack in the city with the riots and everything that was going on. And it was a similar thing where I began to feel like I was constantly under this frequency attack. And I kept trying to pray and essentially love light it away. And it wasn't until I had to get super fierce and say, okay, I'm saying no to this, that my higher self finally got a hold of me and was just like, leave. You cannot be in this place. You need to physically be in another place, and directed me where to go. So I think that's really important for us to pay attention to is, are you being told to physically relocate yourself? Like, it's really important to tune into our intuition right now, because our intuition knows from that higher place, our higher self is trying to direct us, saying, hey, this is coming and you need to leave before this comes. And it was about 3 weeks that I had after I had left Paris that the entire COVID thing happened. And the message that I had received was, leave Paris now or you'll be trapped. I didn't know why I'd be trapped. I just heard that and was like, I'm okay. I'm listening. I'm gone. So those are the types of things that I'm seeing that are happening as well, as we really have to listen right now, because we do get the warnings sometimes, but we don't always pay attention to them.
I totally agree. I feel like I can speak to this because about 24 years ago, I was in a place of such, I know the EMS were different then, but I was in a place of such sensitivity that I literally could barely function, because I was feeling everything so acutely. And I know it's upped its game quite a lot since then. So, but I know what helped me then and what still helps me now. And like you were saying, Nina, kind of listening to the body's intuition and giving myself nutrition and food for my immune system and strengthening my physical body. But it was also a desire to be in my body and a choice to be in my body and a choice to be on this, like you're saying, Magenta, on the third dimension, to go, I'm not going to escape out of try and be somewhere else or wait to be rescued, but it's like bringing the spirit deeper into the physical, anchoring into the earth energies of Mother Earth herself, listening to her, listening to our bodies. It's kind of the same thing. And just so one, my body will crave spirulina and I'll just eat loads of it, or mucuna all of a sudden, or cordyceps, and my body will just tell me what I need. And that was a process of getting there from listening to other people tell me what I should eat, and then that not working or not wanting to, or my body rejecting it, and then going, hold on, what do I need? So it's that all the answers are within. Being able to go, what does my physical body need? Do I want to be in my physical body?
Yeah.
Can I be safe connecting to where I am right now on the planet, or do I need to move? And it's like, where is my strong spot? And when I made that choice, because I was definitely leaving, I felt like a 60-year-old, or was, older than that, when I was in my early 20s, I was leaving. And so it was that choice of, no, I'm going to be here. And a little bit of a fight, but it was more self-love. It was like not a fight against being human, or a fight against, the EMSs. They've got stronger and stronger. I've got stronger to deal with it. I live near towers and all kinds of stuff here. But it's like that saying, I will be in this energy. I will be strong. And anchoring into the Mother Earth frequency, like I said, which is really supporting us right now. We all know, right? We're feeling her. She is stronger and stronger. We feel the waves, and it's like, woo, and then it can go back down, and we can feel that low, Chrissy. So I feel like that's what you're feeling. 1 minute we're feeling the energy rush of the, whoa, the Schumann resonance is going up, and it's like, wow, we feel empowered and strong. And then as it drops back down again, like the pause in between the labor rushes, like Paula was saying, that pause, wait, stay still in the eye of the storm. Whoosh, here comes the next one. But in that stillness, that's where we can spin into the self-doubt, the fear, what the hell am I doing here? Is everybody gonna wake up? Is it gonna be all right? It's all getting to me. That's because it's our most vulnerable time. And if you're a mother or you've given birth, that point. It's so like, you've got to stay in the calm, in the eye of the storm, trusting, hold still, breathe deep into the physical body, anchor into the body, and that I will, and it's self-love, it's love, it's earth vibrational love, it's physical dimension. That's what we're here for, right? It's not just love and light up there. It doesn't work just up there. That's castles in the air. We can all do, that's already exists. It's about anchoring it, or just existing as we are on this third dimensional, bringing the love deep into the body, the listening deep into body, the consciousness deep into every single cell, even into your DNA. If you're insensitive, you can tune in, and it can be really easy. You can have the conversation out loud. Hello, body, what do you need? Listen, and just start practicing that self-love relationship. And I feel like that gets us through everything. It doesn't matter what dimension, it's cross-dimensional. It's all one, really. It's love exists everywhere, and bringing it into the physical right now is where it's, that's where the desperation is. That's where it's most needed. That's where the fear is.
And Chrissy, I just want to add that we know, like in my knowing, the collective has chosen to evolve. So this is a collective decision. So it's not going to work. Doesn't matter what they try.
It's funny because I know this, right? I totally know this, and you will never hear me speak like this. This is very rare for me. Normally I'm like, I already saw the outcome 10 years ago. I already saw that the dark forces, had to surrender, and that the golden age was ushered in. I saw it. I went there. So this is the funny thing that can happen when we get sucked into that place. And I think it doesn't help when you're among 4G, 5G radiation. It just makes it a little harder to tap in. And so, I think that's just what it is, because what you're saying, everything you're saying, I know that. I know it's not going to last. That's my higher self speaking.
I think we got to look at the programming. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think I can totally relate to that and have feelings like that as well. And it's brilliant that you've spoken it out. And exactly what you were saying, Laura, about actually reaching out and connecting together is actually like the,
That was me last week, Chrissy. I cried for a whole day. I felt like who am I? Who the heck am I to think that I can help change the world? Who am I to have a conversation with you guys, right? Like, I'm one of those people that have 12 subscribers. Like, I just started putting little videos and stuff out, right? Like, who the heck am I? I felt like this teeny little unimportant person. And then God love our sister Magenta puts out a couple of videos. It's like, oh, thank God. All right, it's not just me. Now I understand. I feel better now. You know, crying in the bathtub. I said, thank you for telling me that. I feel better.
So that humility and receptivity, I think, just gives us strength because it's so temporary. And I think that's what we're healing. I think that this is a mass healing of self-esteem. Our sense of identity is crumbling. A lot of people in the world that have invested in an identity that's not really authentic or true to who they are. So the thing is, if it was enough to just blast us with dark weaponry, they would just do that. But we need to be programmed first. They rely on the programming through the media, through the news, through religion, through what we, get from our ancestral patterns. And we have to bite, the bait for the rest of it to really create destruction. So when we look at all the things that are being targeted, sacred union relationships, hierogamic union relationships, our own self-love, the conquer and divide that political parties, put on us, the duality of being polarized to either this or that, and not being whole, not seeing all the different moving parts and not integrating those fragments, I feel like that creates such an opening for these dark weapons to take it to the next level. And we're in a massive healing, and we're helping to instigate this healing of how to come together so much and heal that the auric field is so protected that it just transmutes any weaponry as it hits it. But it's so important that you share what you do, Chrissy, because people all over the world are concerned about what you're concerned about. And no matter how spiritual we are or aligned with the light, it's not just going to be able to take it all down. This is a global issue that we all have to walk together with, like you were saying, Magenta. All of us count in this, and we're all going to have our days. I certainly do every day. Like it's a huge part of my everyday is to just crawl out of the human part of me and just be like, oh my God. And yeah, I'm very sensitive too. And they're all our tools and modalities, but it's not up to us to just, do this because we're born into this density that we have to share with everybody else. So we're going to be impacted by it. We're here to inspire one another to be the best of ourselves, but we're taking a huge risk. A lot of the light warriors and workers coming in to drop our energies into a physical vessel that is not like it is in the higher dimensions. And every single person has those memories of when they used to be that person. And we're really just reminding. And so we got to have all these pieces, or else it's not realistic, because we all are affected. And if those towers were near, it doesn't matter who it is, it's gonna create issues. And putting that voice out there is gonna help people to say, wow, we want to act in our town and keep that from happening. So thank you so much,
And thank you for your wisdom, all of you speaking. So, I hope you're going to publish this, Paula, because this is such a great topic for now. There's so many people who are needing to hear this right now, and all of you speaking, thank you so much for this.
I think you should publish it, Paula, as well, for another reason, because when Laura and I did our chat yesterday, I noticed that people were feeling empowered doubly because there were two women there, women saying the same thing. I don't just mean women, but this is very much, as we know, a divine feminine energetic right now. To have a circle of women come together, when people watch this, they see that divine feminine energetic moving as the circle, as the harem, as the power structure, the high priestesses. We need to present that energy, and that is what the 9 mean when they say united you stand, showing this unity, this togetherness. So much power is created when we get together and we are speaking on this higher level about third dimensional, real world, physical world things, but we're still using higher dimensional energy and higher communication in order to communicate about this, and to show that to people brings them into that energy. And I'd also like to draw attention to Nina. It was so profound what you were saying about the voice that said to you, you need to leave, otherwise you will be trapped here. And you listened to that voice. That is such powerful connection and synchronicity. And we are all potentially in that situation. We don't know. Everything is very unknown, even though we can see the futures and we can see the timelines, we can see the eventualities. We're not quite sure which timeline will manifest to get to the culmination point where the dark cabal is taken down and we move into this new earth. There are many ways to move towards that. It might be that many of us have to leave our homes. That's quite drastic and probably won't occur, but it's potentially in the timelines, or it might be there for some of us, or we might have to leave a website or leave a connection or no longer be connected to this person or this group, and we have to follow that voice. So I think it was wonderful that you explained to us what happened when you were in Paris, because if you hadn't listened, and it's so easy not to listen, we've all done it, I don't know about you, but I've ignored that voice so many times and then thought, why didn't I listen to you? Had you listened, you would have been in Paris and you wouldn't have been able to get home.
Yeah. Had I listened, I probably would not be on this call with all of you ladies. And I would not be sharing what I'm sharing, because what was happening for me was I was receiving these very strong activations and downloads, and I could not handle receiving those energy downloads and activations. My physical body was going into what looked like paralysis, anxiety, panic attacks, which I had never had my whole life. And I had been through extreme abuse and trauma, and my whole life has been pretty wild. So for me to know that whatever this was had that much power over me, I essentially surrendered and looked up, from source I am, and said, SOS, I can't handle this. What is happening? And that's when it was like the voice, this booming voice just came in and said, leave or you will be trapped. And I think that that's so important right now, that we all also get really vulnerable and honest with, I can handle this, I can't handle this. Yeah. And ultimately what it was my higher self coming in and saying, this situation is not a match to who you are and your sovereignty. And I'm telling you from your future self that is already here right now, that you need to leave this place, or what you're headed for is going to be an extremely different timeline. And some people have chosen that, but you have chosen something else. So I just get chills when I talk about this, because I've seen that so many of us are going to be, in a way, saved by our future higher selves, directing us through this every step of the way. And when I lately have been connecting with the Pleiadians in this manner, I had this extreme realization now in the physical body of realizing I was talking to my future self that had come back in this moment to remind me and direct me. And as long as I continue to listen to that voice, that will guide me to exactly that timeline that we're all on together. So that's really where I am with this right now is, okay, I see all of this going on, but in a way, to me, this is all an illusion. It's a choice. I have a moment-to-moment choice right now to either let these frequencies change my focus, or my focus off of the timeline that I've chosen, or not. And also, I've been totally breaking down and totally crying and totally processing all of my very human and ancestral, just all this stuff, and lifetimes and karma, and also having new soulmates suddenly appear to remember things we went through together, to activate these pieces. And all of this is so important too. It's not about, oh, I'm all love and light and I'm denying all of this. No, because we can't actually ground these high frequencies into the body, into the earth, connecting to the new earth crystalline core, unless we are also doing our own inner work so that we can receive this in the body, because it's not anymore about vibrating out of the body. It's about the body. So that's been a huge reminder for me too.
You know what, you ladies, yesterday I was thinking about grief ceremonies and how, grieving, the ancients did it, or many cultures now even still do it, of it's grieving together, because like you were saying, Magenta, we are having to unplug and let go of so much, whether it's an emotional trauma or a loss of a feeling of a loss of a loved one, or of our identity, or just seeing what looks to be happening on the surface of everything. And it's just like those times of those tears, it's purifying, it's healing. But I also feel like there's something about collective grief that kind of gives permission I don't know, it's just a powerful thing. Like crying on our own is crying on our own. And the other day I had cried all day. I was super sad, and I reached out to Chrissy, and it was just that connection to know I'm not on my own, and we're not on our own, and to share that we are not on our own through all of it, through thick and thin, and on that grief level. And I don't know, it's just something I was really thinking about yesterday, and it'd be amazing to kind of do something like that regularly.
I agree, because if we look at even regardless of coronavirus being a bioweapon or connected to 5G rollout, it is an attack on our lungs, which hold grief. So on a collective level, processing all the darkness coming to the surface, human trafficking, pedophilia, I mean, things that are horrifying just to know even exists in somebody who might be sitting in a jail cell, let alone our leaders of political worlds, religions, things that people have invested all their energy into, that have raised their children under those guidelines and under their direction. All of a sudden, it's like, because Saturn conjunct Pluto and this Pluto element that takes us into the underworlds and helps us to face that dark night of the soul, humans don't really know how to do that because we haven't been given permission to initiate. We're handed drugs, we're told we're depressed, and oh, stop being so sensitive, don't cry. And it's almost like there's a huge crisis in the lungs and throat. So people can just say, hey, this is traumatic, this is unbelievable, because of what'll somebody else say, and what if I shatter their reality, or what if all this is conspiracy? So regardless of where this weapon or this virus or whatever comes from, this collective grief is the growth period we're in to face, so that we can cry and heal and release all the stress, all the harsh realities, and move through this initiation and begin to feel again. Because all these compromised beings that need to abduct lost their emotionality, lost their reproductive capacity, because they shunned the feeling world. And so to be reminded to feel again, I think it's going to help us strengthen the lungs, strengthen the throat, and also build, you know, stronger bonds, because we need each other. We can't do this alone. And I cried before this interview. I'm like, oh my God. And I cry all the time. That was my old profession. It's just like, okay, gotta, you know, instead of going out for a walk, I'm going to cry for 2 hours and then I can get on with my day.
And that's one of the things that is so funny when you process now, and you know, integrating emotions, like I mentioned. I'm so glad everybody else had cry moments too. It wasn't just me. But it's funny that you're crying, and I'm aware of my ego, my small self, having a hissy fit. But I'm also aware at the higher level that, oh, you're in process. Look at you having a hissy fit. You know, it's kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
But I want to circle back to what Nina said about everybody that's listening. It is so important to foster a connection and a relationship with your higher self, whether you call it a spirit guide or your guardian angel or whatever, because that is what is going to keep us safe in no matter how strong the storm is. To guide us through this. And humanity is waking up through all of this that's being revealed, right? Like this COVID thing is like the first trigger. I did my first corporate workshop yesterday, and even on the call, it's like, doesn't anybody wonder why? Like, we've got this World Health Organization, we've got all these global scientists, these brilliant minds, and not one of them have talked about any natural remedy to boost the immune system in the 4 months of the television. Like, that's gotta, you have to be like that. People are waking up through that going, what the hell? What's that? You know, you're in charge of pandemics globally. Well, you failed, so you're fired. We're firing you. Right?
Yeah. What about Chinese medicine, all the herbs? There's multiple things that can even deal with the radiation. It's like the shot is definitely to link us to a 5G thing and to take this new world order agenda to the next level, and it's not going to work. We're too powerful. Too many people have woken up, and the wave is just going to continue to grow.
Didn't even Donald Trump say yesterday, he was talking about MMS, like, is it magic mineral solution, Jim Humble's? He was talking about taking that. And then it got twisted in the media that he was talking about
injecting the light therapy, right?
It was like, yeah, they completely twisted it. Say Donald Trump says we should inject disinfectant. It was like, that wasn't what he was talking about. Apparently, that was the gist of what I got from it anyway.
But the thing is, it's already in vaccines that they give children, these disinfectants, formaldehyde, and all these horrific things. And then they're giving him a hard time and looking at the anti-vaxxers like they're conspiracy theorists.
No, but MMS is like, it is amazing. It does clean out toxins out of the body. It's super powerful. It's, you know, it's, I don't know if you've ever, you're nodding, right? You've come across it. It's super
Yes,
powerful.
I have a lot. Yep.
So yeah.
I find it so funny with Trump. He's unknowingly intuitive, that man. It's so funny. He doesn't know why he suddenly wants to say something and it comes out all funny and goofy. But a lot of the time, it's like, hey, you're actually onto it, you know? And they know
his
it.
Wasn't his uncle an MIT professor in science, and he's like super advanced in that field? And I think I watched an interview where Trump said that he's just really interested in this stuff, right? But yeah, the media
There's
doesn't.
a major Tesla connection there too. And some people have generators instead of ventilators and all these little slips, like you're saying. Then he'll just say, shut up, you're fake news, I don't talk to you. It's just like, right? Yeah. And all these people bashing him, I'm like, anyway.
Yeah. I did share with you, didn't I, about Trump appearing to me in a dream once as an enlightened master in white gowns. And I said to him, huh, Trump? And he goes, yeah. And I said, but that doesn't make sense. He says, I know. I'm just playing the fool in life, but that's the way I need to do it in order to, you know, get my agenda, you know, bring in the golden age kind of thing, which was really interesting. And then a week later, I got Obama in a dream, and he was asking me to stop making the films because his plan was already gonna, you know, it was futile what I was trying to do because the New World Order was already in a far advanced stage. So it was very interesting that the goodie presented himself as a baddie and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. But in alignment with correct energies, your dreams were. And it's interesting because I've had a lot of people write to me with very similar dreams about Trump. People who couldn't make up their own mind, didn't know whether Trump was good or not. And then they've had dreams that have answered those questions for them.
Mm-hmm. I had a dream a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 summers ago, and he made a new peace treaty with the Galactics. That was the dream, that he made a new peace treaty at the higher levels. You had a dream too, Magenta, didn't you, of him moving papers? And
Yes, I did. Yes, I had a dream of him sitting there outdoors at a table, and he was actually creating a treaty with many world leaders. I had a friend contact me only last week, and that person had a Trump dream. This was one of the individuals that wasn't sure whether Trump was good or not, was open to the fact that Trump was working for the light, and then had a dream that showed him exactly who Trump was, just like Chrissy. So this is the higher self, this is the intuitive aspect. Everything we want to know will come to us when we're in alignment, and when we've let go of any resistance. There are so many people that have just decided that they hate Trump, and they've put themselves into such a resistance place that they're not able to open that energy and relax with that energy and then move into the alignment and see truth. I had a lot of people when I first started talking about Trump, because obviously I saw this when I first looked at his photograph. I saw straight away what he was and what his role was, and so I made videos about it. And I had so many people write to me privately, absolutely attacking me and saying I was ridiculous and wasn't really psychic and was a fake and all this stuff. And then these same people wrote to me like a year later, I mean, not all of them, but many of them, to say, I did go away and I was really angry, and I decided not to listen to your messages anymore. I decided I never want to listen to Magenta again because she's a fake. But then I started to listen to your messages, and then slowly, over this period of time, and seeing the things that Trump has done and looking behind the scenes and understanding the big picture, people have come back to me and apologized and said, I'm really sorry, and you have opened my eyes and you were right. So I think people really do need to understand what is going on, because if you can't understand what Trump's role is in this, you won't understand the plan. You won't understand why things are happening the way that they are.
And the reason why we don't understand is because we're already being taught from a young age in schools to listen with our ears. We're not being taught to listen with the feeling. I'm really lucky that I kept that, and that I can, you know, and by the sounds of it, you too, you can listen with your heart and then make your judgment. But so many people around me, they've gone too much in the direction of intellect, and it just doesn't do us any favors when it's not in coherence.
And that's part of the divide and conquer too, because without integration of the heart, we aren't in our intuition. And I had dreams too, and felt this energy wash over me of just who this person really is. And I was like, whoa, and I'm careful what I share. But the thing is, we also have to remember that anybody that is that hateful of somebody that's up against what he's up against in our times, to think that anybody's a fake for even just saying anything positive, that person really needs to look at themselves, because we can make each other better people. We can support something that we might not even like and feed it good energy and see the good and enhance that good to help open the box for us to jump out of, because we've all been affected by societal conditioning and just the way that we are raised. How can anybody hate somebody so much to not give them an opportunity to become the best of themselves? So you might not agree with Trump people, but what is the point in putting so much toxic energy when we're trying to create a global shift? That is absolutely, you know, standing in the way, when we can really, if we don't really like him, hold space for the best of him to emerge. And if we do support him, you know, then ask yourself, why are they supporting him? It's not because of Republican parties. It's because things like human trafficking are going down. Crimes against humanity are becoming busted. Things are coming to the surface that are helping to see, you know, these pedophilia rings and the most horrific stuff. Under his administration, can we at least appreciate that this administration has created more change than most in so long? And so, yeah. Thanks for letting me just have that vent, Ma.
No, and thanks for putting it so eloquently, and it's such truth. It completely resonates with me.
Yeah,
I love that. It's like, it's not a Trump issue, it's a them issue. If you're so full of hate, like, you know, my mum always said, when you point the finger, 3 point back at you. And it's like, why would you put so much hate on another human being? And to be fair, like, I don't watch anything to do with Trump, but when he first came out and all these people were hating on him, I'm like, what a soul. What kind of soul is this, that he's incarnated into this body to get that much hate? And look how strong he is. What an amazing soul he is. So, like, whatever you think of him, he's doing something extraordinary. Who else could stand there with that much media attention, that much hatred on them, and stand strong and stay true to his own convictions? Like, what a being. Like, whatever you think of him, I think he's amazing.
And then to turn a blind eye to victims that are talking about, you know, obviously we know the feminine needs to come in, but when people are so blinded just because Hillary Clinton's in a female body that they can't see so much proof that's attached to it, and then giving Trump a hard time over the smallest things, where we're turning a blind eye to pedophilia, those same people are not even giving that part the time of day. They're too busy, like, saying he's going to shoot us up with chemicals and using any little thing he says to blow it out of proportion. It's like, I mean, this is obviously a hugely scary thing for people to begin to think for themselves, but you know, you know what I love about light workers, they don't have the animosity or the opposition in return to those that are asleep. We're holding love and compassion and forgiveness, and we're doing the best we can. Whereas those that are asleep are out there, you know, waging war on those that are well-intentioned. But, you know, we don't stoop to that level. We don't create assassination plans to go after some of these dark people, you know, and yeah.
Yeah. And incarnating in a female body does not make you embody the divine feminine. That doesn't mean you're embodying the divine feminine. And looking at Hillary Clinton, does she embody the divine feminine? I mean, I think the answer to that is obvious. No. So
yeah, it's the whole Trump thing is called, I mean, I've been attacked. It's almost it's you don't really want to come out as a Trump supporter, because you get more attack on that than anything else that you might, you know. I'm an alien, I'm an ET in the human body. I probably have less attack me than if I said I was a Trump supporter, because I, like, even my own father-in-law, when he heard that, he's like, oh, you're one of those. Hatred, like, he can't stand me, the contempt, and it's kind of a bummer, but it is what it is.
That it's starting to affect you less, that you're more comfortable.
Oh, I kind of feel, even after my little crying fit last weekend, I feel very strong and powerful. And I don't care if you don't like me anymore. I don't care. I'm telling the truth. I don't care.
Yeah.
The truth
I
becomes
I
more
agree.
powerful than the fear of being judged and the fear of being thrown out of your tribe. And because we also see the tribe of the awake ones is growing so fast now, it's almost going towards, hey, we're almost going to be a majority. And that will be the point where it will become easier on us because the load is divided then, you know, the collective load is then divided.
And you guys,
that's
you know,
happening
this is
now.
international, this group right here, you know, speaking about American government. Sorry, go ahead, Magenta. So people need to just say, wow, you're not even in the United States. And you can see this from the higher perspective. I mean, that's such a good omen for people to follow. Sorry, but I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've had people read my statuses on social media about Trump, and they'll comment and say, I'd love to share this, but I dare not share it because I'm going to get so attacked. And I'm thinking, okay, fair enough. But there has to come a point when you stand up and you speak the truth and you don't worry about those attacks, because at the end of the day, these are social media attacks. It is different when you're in person with a family member or something, but on social media, this is their comment. And yes, if you're sensitive, you will feel the energy of that attack. Of course you will, but there are ways to shield yourself from that. And as I was saying in our interview yesterday, Laura, write the status, don't reply to any of the comments, even if there are 1,000 of them. Don't be tempted to go and reply and get it caught into a debate. Say your words, place the status, and then go off and do something else, and then do another status, read them an hour later. You don't have to reply. I've got so many friends who can't do this. They'll write a status and then somebody will, defend them, attack them, catch them in a debate, and they're straight in there. And then they spend 4 hours having an argument. And then they say to me, I'm so drained. I'm like, yeah, of course you are.
I just say, bless you. Thank you for the communication. Because you can't beat you up if you're being kind, and thank you and bless you.
Yep.
I can say, what's your address? I'm there in 5 minutes with my collection.
You know, but the thing is, our heart, when it's for the right reasons, there needs to be no combat or going out of your way to try and prove something. Because
Exactly.
the deeper intention is that it's about protecting the children, ending the crimes against humanity, disclosure, introducing people to just greater medicine, greater healthcare. And so, yeah, what if he can't deliver all that? Doesn't matter. He doesn't deserve hatred, because we're leaders too. We all need to rise up together. We all play a different role. And so I think people expect it to be a political battle, that they're still in that mindset of like it being about a party. And they don't seem to understand. That's why they call them like right-wing conspiracy theorists and all these labels. It's like, what about no labels? What about justice, divine justice? And seeing the human potential rise, and us all working together in unity consciousness, and maybe changing the whole system of government and politics from that point forward. It seems like the doorway is finally open. And yes, if he can take all the crap for the role he plays, I'm happy to take crap for the truth, because, and if I stand to be corrected, I'm fine with that. I don't need to prove anything. I'm learning just like everybody else, but there's some things that we cannot back away from, and we know this, and this is what we all have in common.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this week I actually did this publicly on my LinkedIn page, and I felt kind of bold. I had to be kind of ballsy about it. I had a VP of sales once tell me I should dim my light, and I had another CEO tell me, you're too earthy. And on that, I said, I actually made the claim. I said, I am an ambassador of the light and of the truth. And for those who told me to dim my light, I will not. And for those who told me I'm too earthy, thank God I am.
Yeah.
And I was kind of a little bit like, oh, I feel kind of like, bam!
That's a high compliment. You're too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we, you talk about the light, and I've recently been really talking about the dark and how people think the dark is not good. When it's actually, I'm not sort of informing you about this. I'm sure you know this yourself, but I've really been, trying to speak about the balance between the light and the dark, and that, the place where creation starts in a gestation place in this darkness, and that humanity is starting to hopefully start to redefine what darkness means. and that the evil on this planet doesn't fit in that bracket of darkness, but it's in the bracket of sickness, you know, disconnection. You know, speaking of evil, what is evil? For me, it is ignorance, the not knowing, the not understanding the consequence of my action. Yeah, if people eat their food and their meat, and I take them to a slaughterhouse where they're being slaughtered in a very unpleasant way, you know, then suddenly it hits them. Okay, this is a cause, and there's an effect attached to that. The fact that they don't know that is to me the sickness of humanity.
Yeah, and humanity only has, so in my knowing and what I've been taught, humanity's suffering can be reduced just to one single idea, and that is the belief in separation, that we are separate from our creator. And
Exactly.
how fear was born. Of course, everything we fear, the whole purpose of fear is to create more fear.
Yeah, I would love to speak to that. A huge lesson for me recently has been, you know, if you are going beyond duality and seeing all of this beyond duality, there is this perceived battle within the earth duality complex that we're in right now. But if you can observe it beyond duality, then essentially all of these players that are playing roles, because we all are right now, are a great gift. Even the ones that are playing the evil role, because there is tremendous light in the darkness if you know how to see it that way. And so how I've been processing that is, well, wherever this person that is playing this evil role is throwing me out of my own soul level integrity, which is personal sovereignty, galactic sovereignty, thank you for coming in and being a great teacher for me to show me where I need to do my inner work. And what's been really interesting for me to see is that in a lot of the spiritual communities in which people have sort of been talking this way for a long time, I've been a bit surprised to see that there's a ton of spiritual bypassing going on. Mm-hmm. And it's actually been coming from people that I had really considered to be strong leaders in these communities. And I just honestly need to speak about this because I feel like there's also this great revealing happening right now, which I'm so grateful for. And all the masks are coming off. And so if you've been hiding behind a mask of spirituality, that mask is coming off, and the true colors of souls are being revealed right now to each other. And within that, we're communicating and seeing the world and each other on a new level. So it's like we can't BS anymore, which is amazing. And that is happening because we all really need to face the truth in ourselves and also collectively. So that's just the piece that I wanted to share around that.
That was amazing. Thank you for sharing that. It just brought just something, up for me that I try and articulate as best as I can. I mean, when we're integrating polarity, only something genuine can take place because there's constant conception. The programmings want us to be polarized. And so the ego mask will hide behind that choice to create division without realizing it because it wants followers. It wants to be right. It needs people to believe in them. And so the mask might appear, kind and benevolent, but if it doesn't integrate polarity, if it doesn't understand that light and dark is something we hold within us, and it's something that is supposed to work together like the masculine and feminine, darkness is the womb and the light is the higher seeds of consciousness that get birthed into that soil and into that womb to produce life. And we're constantly creating. But if we're wearing a mask, and we're seeing it all come to a head, it's like the division gets even worse. And so if we can hold space and forgive that, as well as we're, working on greater forgiveness of it all, we can realize that this is what it's going to take for us to rehabilitate and begin to walk the true path. If we keep throwing people under the bus because they got it wrong, then we're not really doing it. So even if people were mistaken in that way, we have to, you know, see the child become a mature spiritual being, and we have to be a guardian to that process of transformation, or else we'll just keep looping in this duality, because it wouldn't be integrated of us, because we know how the shadow goes. It might work its way out differently than what some of these people are holding in the public arena, but you know, and that's why the power of the feminine is so important, because we have that, and men do too, the ability to nurture a child, our own inner child, to recognize that nurturing is how we thrive. Forgiveness, compassion, and giving a hug, instead of the punishing patriarchy and how it's created so much victim consciousness and fear.
Oh, you nailed that. You nailed that. It's like that separation paradigm. It's like the good guy, bad guy. It just can't exist. It doesn't really exist, but it just, as long as we keep relating to somebody being a good guy or a bad guy, it's still in separation, right? And it's just like the complete ending of the good guy, bad guy paradigm. And just like you said, coming back to the inner child, just coming back to life itself, which is all of it. And it doesn't separate. Breath doesn't only go to people that are good and withhold from people that are bad. It doesn't choose. It's that simple surrender, the simple innocence that life is, and that beautiful creation.
What we tend to have done as a collective is we've made the sinner the sin, the action that was taken potentially in their ignorance or based on whatever information they had available at the time. We've made them the sin itself, right? Which is a distortion or wrong-mindedness.
Yeah. Wow. You mentioned relationships, and I've been kind of wanting to come back to that point. You said something about that that kind of energy separating, you know, divine partnerships coming together. Can you talk more about that? Because we're talking about, okay, us as single sovereign human beings, but what about us in relationship, and, you know, the unity of masculine and feminine? How can you speak to that? You hinted at it earlier.
Who are you talking to?
You, Laura.
Okay. Oh yeah. Well, what's crazy is the inner work that's required to get to the real alchemical marriage part of it, the real union, the real ability to recognize the fullness of each other and not hold each other to these stereotypes, these programmings, and these behavior patterns that avoid the wound and act out in weird personality ways to hide that wound, to refuse, you know, to avoid vulnerability. There's special souls that come together with these kind of agreements. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but this is how we deprogram the human race, because we're resetting the template of you know, what we're really made of, the Christ Sophia, whatever you want to call it, and how that relates to the earth grids, the multidimensional cosmos, and our ability to upgrade our DNA again. And so it's the most ultimate work and the most targeted thing. And that's why we see in movies and media and religions, all this sort of recreation of what these roles should be that don't make us healthy, don't cause us soul appeasement, don't bring us joy or happiness, don't create a healthy family unit, because it's all been taught. And so all the outer is beginning to fall, and we're beginning to speak from what's truly within. And then if we can do that in partnership and put those programmings to the side, it's the most ultimate, you know, transformation available. And that's what is incredibly important, to do that within ourselves, and to make sure before we get heavily invested in a person that they're really on board with that. Because we're all wounded, but can we admit to it? Can we work through it? Can we look at triggers and grow together from them, instead of have it create separation? And just like physical bodies with symptoms, every adversity gives us an opportunity to get closer to each other. But we've been taught for it to create more war, more separation, more divide. And yeah, so we're talking about it on all these multidimensional levels, and it's awesome to bring it back to just that inner union. And then that circulation of the body, you know, switches on the dormant energy centers. It allows the ether to come and purify the DNA and the chakra centers, helps us to anchor and ground, and then boom, we're out of the tree of knowledge and we're back to the tree of life template, and our DNA is functioning and it's firing on all levels. And then we begin to see the galactic heritage in the larger family. And then, yeah, it's like, talk about guardianship, you know, coming in, and we all have a strong link to it, but we're becoming it. And that's the beautiful part. But we have to remember the love story. and remember those fairy tales, that true love was everything. Going through the dark battles with the villain, or going into the underworlds, having separation, but never giving up, because love is something we should never be so traumatized to avoid, because we're afraid of being hurt again. We just need to be more tuned in and less putting the rose-colored glasses on, or giving our power away, or feeling too small, or just wanting validation and acceptance. We got to drop all of that and be willing to, you know, put that out there. And it's amazing that we are all doing that together. It's like, I hope we do this again.
Mhm.
I love you said that. I sorry, I just wanted to say, when you said about this, the thing of it being sabotaged, those divine unions being sabotaged, those relationships, I think that's so helpful and validating for people to hear, because we often like turn it on ourselves and think it's a me problem, and I did it, and I'm not good enough, and I failed, and I fucked up, and whatever. But for you to name it that way, I think is really, really helpful for people. I'm really, really grateful that you spoke about that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, dark technologies are, you know, in the way they affected the ley lines, all the masculine and feminine, the electromagnetic, you know, forces flowing, all that has been unplugged, put in reversal code. So we're born into this distortion. And we have to just like hold hands and say, whoa, you know, we're really overcoming something huge together, instead of the blame and shame, because there's so much more that's trying to, you know, make it difficult, that if we don't have awareness of it, it can break more hearts than it needs to.
And on that note, right, we have to remember that our tech, God's tech, is so much more superior than any dark tech, especially when we come together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
And as you just
Getting
sorry, go ahead, Christy. Go ahead.
I've been getting the words round table for a long time, and I tried to set one up last year, and it was quite interesting. But when you came up with the idea of us coming together, I was like, yes, that is what is required right now. It was a complete, we need to not just do this once, but it's very, very potent and powerful to do this.
Well, the round table, when you look at the knights of the round table, sitting in the round table, putting their swords in, so you have sovereignty and unity with the circle of the round table. There's no leader, everyone is equal. And those swords that cross the table from the knights, looking at the Camelot stories, then that's the matrix. So that's the vertical pillar of light, which is the Excalibur, the sword, the vertical axis, which is the above and the below, the dark, the light, the positive darkness, the positive light, as you were saying earlier about darkness being positive, and the horizontal and the diagonal. And this is the sort of model that the 9 have shown me, is this matrix, a simplified way of being able to understand the direction of the toroidal field that is our energetic system in the body and in the planet and in the galaxy. So round table is actually a code, a fire letter known within the DNA. Round table, Excalibur, Merlin, the dragon, Camelot, all of those are codes. Every starseed, every awakened individual will be connected to that story, because that is global and planetary and galactic metaphor. It's a presentation of ancient language. So round table is multi-layered in its presentation. It's a fire letter, it's a code. It activates the DNA. That is what takes the DNA from the carbon-based structure into the beautiful crystalline silicon-based structure. That's what the fire letters are. They're codes to activate. So when you come together and you communicate like this, you're actually creating an amplification of energy. One individual can amplify their energy on their own, but when people come together in a round table, they amplify the energy much, much, much stronger. And that's what's happening across the planet. We're not all sitting on a literal round table on Zoom, but we are creating a huge round table right across the planet telepathically. It's a telepathic, psychic, spiritual union. And that's what's raising the vibration of this planet. And that is what is going to create the new Earth, change everything in the third dimension, bring all the technologies forward that will help us with healing, bring forward all the ancient medicines and the herbs, and take down the control structure and free everyone from this years and years and years of slavery and all of these crimes against humanity. The round table is so meaningful on so many levels.
And also in the physical, people that are living in a town to look each other up and do come together. Hey, I'm not encouraging social distancing here. Hey,
Yeah.
you make that effort to physically come together and form these groups together, because the energy of that will emanate out to other circles.
Social distancing.
I heard, well, two things I want to share. So back to Nina, you were talking about the Pleiadians. I heard many, many years ago that one person connected to source is more powerful than 1 million people in fear. I wanted to share that, which is so true. And then the second one, like the image that they give me is on my peripheral on this side is a complete, like a demolition happening, like a building is collapsing with all of the dust. But over here, there's this incredible renaissance of like new poetry and literature and art and this incredible innovation and breakthroughs. And I love that image. It's almost like you almost deny this a little bit, but with compassion and respect. And that was a fun journey. That was fun to play that for a while. But over here, this is where I really want to put my creative focus and my heart-centered energy on. Because really, there's just me and you here, right? For all the people that are listening, there's only human beings here. So if it's just you and me, why do I keep making shitty products that end up toxic in a landfill and that rip you off with money if you're the only other person on the planet with me? Like, it's insane. Why would I make you something that doesn't last and rip you off? You know, like, and I think people are beginning to see that.
It's a huge mind control thing.
What's that, Chrissy?
It's just been a huge long-term mind control thing that has been playing, and as these shells fall off, I think part of what is coming up, the grief that we're feeling, is the grief of how could I have not seen this? How could I've just how did I get caught up in that? Why didn't I see that? You know, there's also a little bit that I see for a lot of people.
I've actually had people say that to me. I've actually had people say to me, oh my goodness, I've been so thick all these years. I've been so blind. And I'll reply, no, you haven't. It just hadn't come to you yet. But now it has. And it doesn't matter when it comes to you, when you find the truth. When you do find the truth, then it's your time to step forward. But I was going to say about your other comment, you mentioned a joke about social distancing. And I was going to say social distancing is creating the telepathy. The more they separate us, the stronger we reach out with that signal. Everything they do is backfiring. They are creating the very thing they're trying to prevent, which is the Great Awakening, the awareness of everyone on the planet, knowing what they're doing and their downfall. They're desperately trying to stop it. And by doing that, they're creating it.
Yeah, the purpose of fear is to recreate more fear. So their biggest fear is the awakening, and they're actually making it happen.
Yep.
Thank you. God bless you.
I know. I said that to those that were trying to drag me off planet. It's like, you have no idea, you know, and the ones whoever was trying to silence me, you're actually helping me. I knew that within myself, even if I felt like I couldn't do anything. I'm like, it's something's increasing, and then it's eventually going to bust through the gateway, right? So the momentum on the earth is building, because the gateways are going to be bust through, because this is the time period on earth where the natural stargates open anyway. Mm-hmm. But there's a congestion, which is, you know, we see the lungs issue again, regardless of where it came from. The physical symptoms is the congestion of not having the greater circulation with the ether. And so the dam's about to burst, but it's not that the dark controllers are going to like overtake. The dam's going to burst where the gateways open, and people will feel that grace and that healing. And those that aren't able to stay in physical form, it's okay. We can't fear death. We can't hold on to those loved ones. We have to realize when people transition and our loved ones transition, it's like, you know, it's taking a different position on the soccer field. Like, okay, now we're going to outfield, like way outfield, but we're still part of this communication, and we need to trust that what we can't see is filled with essence and vibration and connection. What we can see is often deceiving. So if we can, you know, see from the inside out and create from the inside out rather than the outside in, everything is so much more reassuring than we can imagine. The tears, in a lot of ways, is a happy reunion, even though there's pain mixed in because we've all missed something huge and we feel threatened. I mean, it's, to me, a lot of the tears that come up for me is happy reunion. Like, here we are, finally, we can all relate on this level. People are really ready for that.
Yeah.
It was called mass consensual ceremonial death when 10 years ago I had my vision. You know, the people dying, they were consenting to this on a soul level.
Yeah, that's very true. It is definitely this very strong time of transition, and also I feel resurrection. And
Absolutely.
part of that divine feminine path is also stepping into that warrior role, which is choosing your battles very wisely, and also understanding that when you are connected to that divine light, you are superhuman. And every attack that I have received my entire life, and I have been attacked from the time I was a little baby, I was one of those that was targeted, only made me stronger. And I reached a point in the past 2 years when I really realized that, wow, every time you try to kill me, you actually bring me back stronger. And in this resurrection, you get to a point where you become fearless, and you really become fearless because you realize that there has been something that is, for me, that is source, that is God, I am present, that has had their hand on my life the entire time and still does for the mission that I'm on. And I'm speaking this to everyone. It's not just myself. I see this in so many of us. It's just when your eyes open and you see it, you realize, wow, that is the power of love. And that is what I can have faith in. And no matter what happens, that is what I'm going to trust. So I really see us in this incredible global resurrection where we are constantly, daily, moment to moment being resurrected. And I also just wanted to speak to this part about, Paula, you were talking about this renaissance of artists. I completely resonate with that, and I'm so excited because I've seen this vision where at some point when we get to this point on the timeline, there are going to be a lot of people that are needing help. They already do. A lot of people already need help right now with accepting this time of transition, this time of awakening. And I see this huge renaissance opening up, of a global renaissance of artists and musicians and poets and actors, all anchored in that love and light of truth. And I've actually seen that a lot of the churches will be taken over in this manner, where you have healers and light workers everywhere, just in droves, assisting whoever needs that assistance. And that's why we all have this desire to be doing that on a global scale and to be united together doing this. So I'm very excited for that time.
Yeah, me too. I'm very excited.
Nina, I was going to say, what you just said is absolutely amazing. When you're talking about the resurrection and your story of being through abusive situations, and you thought to yourself, each time you kill me, I come back even stronger. That's just so powerful and so very intrinsic within deep spiritual understanding. And if you look at the Star Wars film, you know, in that very first Star Wars film that they did, where Obi-Wan Kenobi, or maybe it was the second one, where he holds his lightsaber and he says to Darth Vader, if you strike me down, I will rise up even stronger. And Darth Vader, and then he allows him to strike him. He puts his saber sort of straight and he allows Darth Vader to strike him. And then, you know, as an audience watching that film, we're thinking, oh no, Obi-Wan has gone. And yet the whole series of Star Wars, Obi-Wan's energy was always there. And that's a deep spiritual presentation. And everything that Nina just said, the resurrection and that power and that coming together, it's not just Star Wars, it's been presented all over. And that's what's happening. And the vision that you have of the artists and singers and the dancers and the actors and the poets, and this amazing light, and having all light workers within that structure and the creativity that's coming. Absolutely. I also see that vision very strongly within what is being called the New Earth, the fifth dimensional presentation on this planet. Oh my goodness. I mean, when you look forward, the beauty and the harmony and the intelligence and the wisdom, simply because we'll be free. We'll be free to go forward without hijacking. That dark matrix is no longer holding us back. We will finally be free. And that is what we're creating now. And it is beautiful. And we have got to keep our eyes on that prize, if you know what I mean. We have to keep focusing on that amazing outcome and knowing that it's occurred, living as though it's already happened, which is really difficult when the third dimension looks like it's a new world order takeover, to find the place within us where we know this is the fifth dimension. This is the new earth. It's here now. The unity is here now, because it is here now. But that's what's going to create it. Us coming together like this and sharing is creating that vision.
Yeah, if I can just add, Nina, you were mentioning about the mask coming off. Of course, we're witnessing that, and what's been hidden behind is what's being revealed, what was in the shadow. And then at the same time, that's when those that have agreed to embody the resurrection actually happens, right? The higher steps in fully to the physical body and is fully expressed in its true nature. At least that's what's being talked about with the work that I'm doing with the guides. And that part, I'm like so excited. And I have no clue what it's going to look like. One of my favorite mantras is, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going. I don't know what I'll become, but I am. Right? Like, I have no clue what this is going to look like. Quite the adventure.
May I share with what you said, Nina? I completely relate to you. When you're speaking, my heart's just filling up with so much love for you right now. It's wonderful. And when I was in my mother's womb, like, I had proper 60s, 70s hippie parents, and they were really on a world peace mission. They were really amazing. They come from Belfast, where all the troubles were happening, and they came to London, and it was all about, you know, the peace mission of the late 60s and 70s. And my mum was pregnant with me, and she was in a car accident, and I was pronounced dead by 2 hospitals, and apparently was not alive for a 2-month period in the womb. And my mom just completely didn't believe that I was dead. She was just in the light. She was in trust, really, of herself. And so 2 months later, almost 2 months later, my heartbeat came back, my pulse came back, and I was in the womb for 11 months. And then I was just born normally, really, really hairy and wrinkly, like I'd been in the bath for too long, but I was really, I was healthy. And linking back to what you were sharing, my experience is that life is a choice. To be born on this earth is a choice. We made that choice in our soul. We made it consciously. It's a choice every day to live. And also what we call death is also a choice. And we might not all remember the choice that we make, and we might not be conscious of our day-to-day, moment-to-moment choice, but we made that choice. And to understand that those people that seem like they're not making it, because I'm also hearing in some communities that them and us thing, of those of us that make it and those of us that don't, those that get left behind. And I know this was a point of choice back in about 2012. People were feeling a similar point of choice that we're feeling now. It's like, am I going to go with the love and that new earth that we're talking about? Or am I, going to stay here with the, am I going to make the dimensional shift, so to speak, And that fear of letting go and losing loved ones, that sense of, people are going to die. There's been lots of prophecies about mass death. And like you were talking about, the ceremonial consensus for death, or what looks like death. But I feel like, from my understanding, it's a done game. It's already played out. It's already done. We already chose in our soul. And yes, we can still upgrade our choices. There's always an opportunity to come back in and upgrade our choices and transform our choices in every single moment. But that nobody goes or gets left behind. That isn't a thing anyway. Because we're all in the same, we're all in the same ecosystem of the universe. We're all, birth, life, and death constantly. But it is a choice And even if we can just remember that, you know, to choose to breathe right now, choose to stay in our body, choose, am I going to be in fear or am I going to be in love? Do I want to live? Do I want to perish underneath all this, you know, evil and, you know, coming back to the EMFs and the whatever's dark stories are being rolled out that are potentially terrifying, and we might be afraid of dying because of that, or the slavery that goes with that. Ultimately, it's like, what am I choosing?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that works on a death level because I know that I chose to be here. You know, there was a choice to go for a while and a choice to come back. And you speak to anybody that has had near-death experiences or anything like that, have experienced death, it's always a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Part of them says, I've had enough, I want to go, I'm done, can't do this. But then there's that another choice point where you go, well, are you sure? Yeah, okay, I'm going to come back, you know. So
And these choices
I feel like that kind of maybe kind of takes the anxiety away of those leaving and those staying, if we all can go, okay, what if we choose? What if that's a possibility? What if that's the truth? What if that's the reality? We get to choose, and everybody's allowed their own sovereign choice because we're beings of free will. And you can't change somebody else because we don't want them to make that choice, you know. We can only, you know, just keep spreading the message that obviously there is a choice and you're not doomed.
And when we look at that, Tara, at the 3D perspective, that's really what humanity is being presented with right now, is a choice. Do you choose love or do you choose fear?
And we can simplify it because there is so many levels. There is so much complexity to the timelines, the stories, the dimensions, all the things that are happening. It's such a complexly woven story that it can be really like stressful, and that can cause us the anxiety and the stress and, you know, the sleeping disorders and eating disorders and whatever else, you know, the conflict we've got going on. But we can level that playing field and come back to what is really simple. And I find that the answers are really in that simplicity. It's just remembering to just take a simple deep breath, letting go of the tension of the trying to control or trying to steer, or, okay, what am I going to choose for me right now? Just on a simple level, going to choose to breathe, going to choose to feel my heart, going to choose to live. And it can all just calm everything down, and then we can just relate on that level, like coming back to the inner child, like Laura was saying, and the simplicity. And it's just so much easier. I guess that's what that round table thing you're talking about is, like, oh, we can all relate. We're all equals here. We are all equals. There is no us and them. We're all in this amazing symphony that's playing out together. And it is supremely beautiful just to feel it in that level. And I feel like that's where we can ride any transitions, we can ride any waves, we can ride any potential periods of darkness, Paula, because you mentioned that earlier, and it's stayed in my mind because I saw that coming like 10 years ago, and I'm like, is that really going to happen? But you know what I mean? It's like all these potentials of fears that could happen. Is 5G going to take over? All of these potential fears. And it's like we can unplug from that, not be creating it to happen with our fear and our worry, you know, because what we focus on actually manifests. What we focus with our worry and our fear on actually creates more of that. So just coming back to the simple, coming back to that breath, and just being, you know,
bringing it home to the heart. It's time to come home.
It needs to be simple for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. So just looking at the time here, Magenta, to all the folks that are listening, is there one piece of guidance that you would like to share as we wrap up this fabulous roundtable? And I'm so grateful that we got to come together. What would you like to share? Or is there
one piece of it? Did you say one piece of advice?
No, just if you could share one thing as we end our first roundtable together. What would you like to share?
I think really what I'd like to share is understanding multidimensionality and integration. As I said earlier, the third dimension and understanding what that is, the physical world, what's going on there, the fourth dimensional system, the fifth dimensional system, or higher dimensional, whichever model you want to use, and integrate the physical reality and the feelings that you have in the physical reality, the emotional body, and then everything that's being said here about the higher dimensional viewpoint. So understanding that in the physical level, things look chaotic, they look really difficult, they look as though it's presenting too much of a challenge that we can't cope, and it's okay to be up and down. It's okay to feel really despairing and cry one minute, like you said, and feel elated and happy and hopeful the next. I've got friends, one minute they're telling me I cried myself to sleep all night, the next day I'm so happy I've been in the forest all day on my bike, you know. So go with that sine wave, that movement, and take yourself to the higher viewpoint as well, where everything is done, everything that Tara just said about coming back to that simple peace and taking the breath is integrating all of those things. And like Nina said, bypassing is a big thing at the moment in the New Age community. So don't just sail off to the high love and light and forget that we have work to do on the physical level. I think integration of the multidimensionality of life is a focus for us right now, and to be able to move within that at will, understand, forgive ourselves, don't beat ourselves up when we have a bad day, stay within that power. I think multidimensionality and integration is key.
Thank you. Thank you. Chrissy.
I want to share with whoever's watching and with you that we mustn't forget the power of intention. So we don't have to have all the knowledge and information yet on what we need to do. All we need to do is set simple intentions in the morning and just watch the universe respond to our needs.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely. Beautiful. Thank you. Nina.
I would like to say, don't forget that love is really the most powerful force in the entire universe and all of existence. And love always, always, always trumps fear.
Yeah.
It just constantly, wherever your fear is, wherever that sadness is, bring in the love. Love all of those aspects of you that are grieving and mourning or are angry, just like you would love a child. There's also, please nurture your inner child, because a lot of our inner children are going through so much right now. And you use your art therapy, use your journaling, get those toxic emotions out. Don't deny them. That's what this is. We need to face all of that and integrate it with bringing in the light, not by bypassing it.
Right.
And meditate. Go inside and meditate. Oh, wow, that's a big one.
Thank you, Nina. Tara.
I'm gonna completely back that one up. Self-love is, for me, the ultimate key to everything. And I've been lost in darkness in multi different places, even in death. And the most grounding, most secure, most incredibly enlightening self-realization, forgiveness, empowering place to be is when I learn to love all that I am, mm-hmm. including and especially those parts that I thought that were the most unlovable, most unbearable. Mm-hmm. And to deeply be humble, because love humbles us. And, and even Einstein, his greatest understanding at the end of the day was love is the most powerful force in this universe, right? So he was a pretty clever guy. So I think we can go with that one, and actually, but to tap into that force within that is the unconditional absolute love that is all, and that it's who we are, and complete the cycle. So instead of the attention going out there all the time, trying to find the answers and the solutions and the power, and just put it back here, just plug back in. Tap the senses back into oneself, plug back into the innate inner wisdom, inner truth of that love, of that power, and the cycle completes itself when we come home to that which we are. And it's really simple, and anyone can do it. And even just saying these words, hello me, I love you me, and just coming back in is going to solve so many problems for people everywhere, and it's so simple. So thank you so much for sharing everything.
Wonderful words of wisdom. from some absolutely beautiful people. I'm so grateful. And I feel like there's nothing left to be said except bring it home to the heart. It's time to come home.
Yeah.
Where the real love resides, because everything out there is chaotic and noisy and loud. Unplug, bring it in, and the silence is where our guidance is, the whispers on the wind. Thank you so much for coming together. God bless you all. Magenta, Tara, Nina, Chrissy, and Laura, thank you so much. God bless you.